My fiancée dumped me out of nowhere, saying she needed to find herself. A week later, she called crying that she still needed my support as a friend. I didn't yell, I didn't beg, I just told her to check the mail. What she found inside made her go silent on the call. It happened on a Tuesday. I remember because we had just paid the rent for our apartment the day before. We were sitting on the couch after dinner, and there was no fight, no warning. My fiancée, Megan, just turned to me with a look of calm finality and said she was leaving. After 4 years together, 2 of them engaged, it was over. "I need to find myself," she said. It was the oldest cliché in the book, and she delivered it like it was a profound revelation. "I feel like I've lost who I am. I need to be on my own to figure things out. This isn't about you, it's about me." I didn't yell, I didn't beg. Years of working as a project manager have taught me that emotions don't solve problems. You just analyze the new data and adjust the project timeline. Our project was over. I just looked at her, at the woman I thought I was going to spend my life with, and I saw a stranger making a business decision. "Okay," I said. "When are you leaving?" My lack of a dramatic reaction seemed to throw her. She probably had a whole speech prepared for my tears or my anger. "I'm going to stay at my sister's place for a while," she said. "I'll pack a bag tonight and get the rest of my stuff later." And that was that. She packed a suitcase, I helped her carry it to her car, and she drove away. The engagement ring was left on the coffee table. The silence in the apartment was deafening. For a few days, I just went through the motions. I went to work, I came home, I ate dinner alone. I started making a list, the way I do for any project that's gone off the rails. A list of all the things that were now my sole responsibility. All the loose ends from our shared life. Our wedding was supposed to be in 3 months. We had deposits down on everything. A beautiful old barn for the venue, a photographer, a caterer, a band, a honeymoon to Italy, all planned and mostly paid for. For the past year, my life had been a series of spreadsheets and payment plans, all leading up to a day that was now never going to happen. A week after she left, she called. I answered, thinking it was about getting the rest of her things. It wasn't. "Hey," she said, her voice small and shaky. "How are you holding up?" "I'm managing," I said. "Good," she said. "Listen, I know this is hard, but I was hoping that we could still be friends. I still really need your support right now. This is a really confusing time for me, and you've always been my rock." I just sat there, holding the phone, a cold, quiet anger building inside me. My rock. She had just detonated our entire life, our entire future, for a vague journey of self-discovery, and now she wanted me to be her emotional support animal while she was on it. She wanted the comfort of my presence without any of the commitment. She wanted a friend. "Okay," I said, my voice flat, "we can be friends." "Oh, thank God," she said, a wave of relief in her voice. "You're the best, Mark." "I knew you'd understand." "I do understand," I said. "But since we're just friends now, there's some stuff we need to clear up. Check your mail tomorrow." She was confused. "The mail? Why?" "Just check it," I said. "Talk to you later." I hung up before she could ask any more questions. She had no idea what I had been doing for the past week. I hadn't just been moping around. I had been working. I had spent every evening on the phone and online, methodically dismantling the future we were supposed to have. And I had kept every single receipt. That night, I assembled a package. It was a thick, 9x12 envelope. Inside, I put a series of documents, each one in its own clear plastic sleeve. Document 1 was a copy of the contract for the wedding venue. I had highlighted the cancellation clause, which stated that the $10,000 deposit was non-refundable. Document 2 was the receipt from the caterer. Their policy was a little more forgiving. They were only keeping half of the $5,000 deposit, so a loss of $2,500. Document 3 was the invoice from the photographer she had insisted on, a trendy artist who demanded a non-refundable booking fee of $3,000. Document 4 was the confirmation of our canceled flights to Italy. I had gotten the flight credit, but the booking fees were gone. Another $500 down the drain. Document 5 was the real masterpiece. It was a receipt for her wedding dress. She had bought it 3 weeks earlier. She had found a designer she loved, and the dress had to be custom made. The total cost was $8,000. She had paid for it on a credit card that was in both of our names, but for which I was the primary account holder. I was the one who paid the bill every month from my personal bank account. I had called the credit card company the day after she left and had her removed as an authorized user. Then I had called the bridal shop. The dress was finished, and per the contract she had signed, it was non-returnable. The full amount was due. The final document in the package was a spreadsheet. On the top, in a clean, bold font, it said, "Project Closure, Wedding." It listed every single non-refundable deposit and cancellation fee. The venue, the caterer, the photographer, the flights. The total came to $16,000. Then I added the $8,000 wedding dress. Grand total, $24,000. At the bottom of the spreadsheet, I had written a simple sentence. Total cost of finding yourself, $24,000. As we are now just friends, I've calculated your half of the shared project cancellation fees. Your portion is $12,000. Please remit payment at your earliest convenience. I put all the documents in the envelope, sealed it, and sent it via overnight courier to her sister's address. It would be there in the morning. The next day, I was at work when she called. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again and again. Finally, on the 5th try, I picked up. I didn't say anything. I just waited. "I got your package," she said. Her voice was trembling with a mixture of shock and fury. "What is this? Are you serious?" "It's a project closure report," I said, my voice calm. "Standard practice. A project closure report?" she shrieked. "You're sending me a bill for our breakup? This is insane. You can't be serious." "Why not?" I asked. "You wanted my support as a friend. Real friends don't stick their buddies with a $24,000 bill for a party they decided to cancel." "You broke the engagement, Megan. You are responsible for the consequences of that decision. This is what those consequences look like in black and white." "I'm not paying this," she yelled. "You can't make me." "You're right, I can't," I said. "But the $8,000 dress is your debt. You signed the contract. It's sitting at the shop, waiting for you to pick it up. If you don't pay for it, I'm sure their collections department will be in touch. As for the other $16,000, if you choose not to pay your half, then you're not a friend. You're just a person who cost me a lot of money. And I don't keep people like that in my life. The choice is yours." She went silent on the call. The silence stretched for a full 30 seconds. I could hear her breathing, the sound of her world collapsing in on itself. She had expected to float away on a cloud of self-discovery, with me as her safety net below. I had just cut the net. "I hate you," she finally whispered. "I know," I said, and I hung up. The fallout was immediate. Her sister, Katie, who she was living with, called me that night, screaming about how I was a monster, how I was kicking Megan when she was down. "She's going through a hard time, and you pull this?" Katie yelled. "Is she going to pay her half of the bills or not?" I asked calmly. "Of course not. You're the one with the good job, you can afford it. You're being petty and vindictive. So she wants the freedom of being single, but the financial benefits of being with me," I said. "That's not how it works. You can tell her the offer stands. Pay her half, and we can be friends. Otherwise, she's just a bad investment I'm writing off." I hung up. Then came the social media smear campaign. Megan posted a long, tearful story on Instagram about how her toxic ex was trying to financially ruin her for having the courage to choose her own happiness. She conveniently left out the details of the $24,000 bill. A few of our mutual friends chimed in with their support for her, leaving comments about how I was a classic case of a man punishing a woman for leaving him. Her post was full of hashtags like healing, self-love, and moving on. I didn't engage. I just sent a single, polite email to the 3 or 4 friends I actually cared about. The subject was, "For your information." In the email, I attached the same documents I had sent to Megan, the contracts, the cancellation receipts, and the spreadsheet. I ended the email with, "This is not a punishment. This is just the invoice for a canceled project. I thought you should have the full story before choosing a side." The narrative changed pretty quickly after that. One of those friends, a guy named Sam, called me and apologized. "Man, I had no idea," he said. "She made it sound like you were just being a jerk. But you just want her to pay for her own wedding dress and half the deposits. That's not crazy, that's just fair." He told me he and a few others had called her out in their group chat, and she had a complete meltdown, calling them all unsupportive and kicking them from the chat. The real fun started a few weeks later. The bridal shop, after weeks of leaving unanswered messages for Megan, finally sent her official account to a collection agency. Her journey of self-discovery now came with threatening letters and a rapidly tanking credit score. She got desperate. She showed up at my apartment one night, unannounced. I was just getting home from the gym. She was crying. Real tears this time. "You have to help me," she begged. "They're ruining my credit. I can't even get approved for my own apartment. Please, Mark, just pay for the dress. I'll pay you back, I swear." "No," I said. "Why are you being like this?" she cried. "I thought we were friends. You said you'd support me." "I am supporting you," I said. "I am supporting your journey to find yourself. Real adulthood, the kind you're looking for, is about taking responsibility for your own choices. You chose the dress. You chose to end the engagement. Now you have to choose to pay your bills. This is what finding yourself looks like. It's not a yoga retreat in Bali. It's a call from a collection agency." I closed the door and left her standing in the hallway. The next escalation came from an unexpected source. About a month after the breakup, I was at a work happy hour with some colleagues. One of the guys from the sales department, a guy named Ben who I barely knew, came over to me. "Hey Mark, can I talk to you for a second?" he said. He looked awkward. We stepped outside. "Listen, man," he said. "This is probably none of my business, but I feel like you should know. I've been seeing someone, a woman named Megan." I just kept my face neutral. "Okay." "She told me a wild story about her ex-fiancé," he said, looking at me. "A project manager who went crazy after she left him and tried to bankrupt her. She didn't say your name, but we work at the same company and, well, I put two and two together." "And?" I asked. "And I've been dating her for about 2 months," he said. "We met about a month before she broke up with you." My blood went cold. Finding herself wasn't a solo journey. She had lined up my replacement before she jumped ship. "She told me you guys were basically over for a year," he said, looking embarrassed. "She said you were just roommates and that she was trying to find a way out. The whole finding myself thing was just her way of trying to let you down easy." "I see," I said. The betrayal was so much deeper than I had thought. "Look," Ben said, "I'm not a bad guy. I didn't know she was engaged. When I found out the real timeline and when she told me about the money stuff, I started digging. A friend of mine knows your buddy Sam. I heard the real story. I just wanted you to know that I broke up with her last night, and I told her exactly why. Because she's a liar." I shook his hand. "Thanks, man. I appreciate you telling me." So the real reason for the breakup wasn't a journey of self-discovery. It was a simple trade-up, and it had failed. After the conversation with Ben, I thought the worst was over. It wasn't. The next phase of this project involved her parents. I got a call from her father, a man I had always respected. He was a partner at a law firm, and his voice had the kind of calm authority that could make you feel small. "Mark," he said, "Megan has told me about this invoice, and I have to say I'm deeply disappointed. This isn't how a gentleman behaves." "With all due respect, sir," I said, "a gentleman doesn't get left with a $24,000 bill. Megan made a unilateral decision to end our engagement. I'm just allocating the costs of that decision." "This is beneath you," he said, his voice hardening. "You're a successful man. This is a rounding error for you. For her, it's a crippling debt. You are using your financial power to punish her, and I won't stand for it." "So what are you suggesting?" I asked. "You will cease all attempts to collect this so-called debt," he said. "You will pay the bridal shop, and in return, we will consider the matter closed. If you do not, I will be forced to take legal action for harassment." "What grounds for harassment?" I asked. "Intentional infliction of emotional distress," he said, without a hint of irony. "Your actions have caused my daughter severe anxiety and have damaged her reputation." I just laughed. Her reputation was damaged when she lied to our friends, and when the man she left me for dumped her for being a liar. My actions have only brought a little bit of financial reality to her situation. But since you want to talk about legal action, let's do that. I had been doing my own research. I have a signed contract from a bridal shop with Megan's signature on it. That's a legally binding debt. I also have a record of her using our joint credit card for thousands of dollars in personal expenses, which I can prove I paid for. If you want to go to court, we can go to court. We can have her explain to a judge why she believes her ex-fiancé should be financially responsible for a wedding dress for a wedding she canceled to be with another man. How do you think that will look?" There was a long silence on his end. He had expected me to fold. He wasn't used to people calling his bluff. "You're making a mistake," he finally said, and hung up. The lawsuit never came, but the threats weren't over. A week later, I got a call from my own boss. He told me that he had received an anonymous email sent to the company's HR department. The email accused me of creating a hostile work environment by harassing a colleague's new partner. It was a clear reference to Ben and Megan. It was a desperate, stupid attempt to get me fired. My boss, a good man who had been my mentor for years, just asked me one question: "Is there anything I should be worried about?" "No," I said. I forwarded him the email I had sent to my friends with all the documentation. I told him the whole story, including the part about Ben. He called me back an hour later. "Okay," he said. "This is a mess, but it's a personal mess. It has nothing to do with your work here. Don't worry about it. HR is deleting the email. But Mark, be careful. This woman sounds unhinged." The last I heard, her parents had to bail her out and pay for the dress. They were furious. The perfect, carefree daughter who had been on a brave journey of empowerment was suddenly an expensive liability. Her relationship with her sister soured too. Apparently, living with a broke, miserable, and debt-ridden sibling is not as fun as it sounds. Ben, of course, wanted nothing to do with her. She had tried to ruin my career, and he was disgusted. About 6 months after the breakup, I was on a date with someone new. We were at a nice restaurant downtown, and across the room I saw her. Megan. She was on a date too, with a guy who looked a lot like me, only older and I suspected richer. She saw me and her eyes went wide. I was with a beautiful, intelligent woman, and we were laughing. I wasn't just surviving without her. I was happy. She just stared, a look of pure, unadulterated shock on her face. The guy she had written off, the guy she thought would be her loyal, supportive friend forever, had moved on and upgraded. I didn't smirk. I didn't wave. I just gave her a polite little nod, a nod that said, "I hope you found what you were looking for." Then I turned back to my date and forgot she even existed.